At this time, can I please, Senator Joe Addabbo, if you can please come up.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm not going to go with the mic. If you can't hear me, let me know. What? It's good to see our Congressman. Really good to see you. Good to see you. And I know we're still in the month of January, so I can still wish everybody a happy and healthy New Year. You know, in the month of January, we do start our business up in Albany, and it starts up with the governor's state of the state. Some criticism, because, I generally like the governor, but me and my wife don't agree on everything. So I will say that, well, I like the governor's speech, and it does give a roadmap to where our state is going, because he started the speech with like a recap of the last 3 years. And certainly this governor has done well in the last 3 years. But if you looked at the, if you're listening to the state of the state, you would think that our state ended at like Utica or something like that. Certainly in the northern part. He did concentrate a lot on the northern part of our state, and rightfully so. The northern part of our state does have a depressed economy that certainly could use some help. But over the course of this legislative session, we're going to start to talk to the governor about paying attention to economic development and transportation needs, certainly down here in the southern part of the state. He did mention our airports, which of course are important to us, but there are other needs in our area. I still have an area that suffers extremely from the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. We have needs here, and so certainly we are going to work with the governor and try to make sure that he understands it is one state, and we do need some help down in southern Queens. The next step is going to be this coming week. On Tuesday, he releases his executive budget. Again, another roadmap. And this will pretty much occupy our time up in Albany until April 1st, when we hopefully, I say hopefully, pass our 4th consecutive on-time budget. What we look for in this executive budget is building upon what we've done over the past 2 or 3 years. And that's increasing funding for public schools and private non-public schools, increasing money for libraries, right, Maria? And doing what we can, increasing money for transportation, and seeing what we can do. Now, he has a plan, the governor, of tax breaks. And while the knee-jerk reaction to tax breaks is, yes, let's do this, we must look at the details. Because when he talks about a property tax break, it really doesn't affect us. Our tax structure outside the city is different. So when he does say a property tax cap, it really doesn't affect us. When he says a tax break for renters, that does affect many of our renters. But we need to look at the details when he wants to give a lot of money back to the people, which I agree with. If we have a surplus, give it back to where it belongs, our people. But I think we have to be careful with the details. Now, one thing I am going to stress during the budget process is localized money. Localized money. Now, many of our media, local media excluded, of course. They're our friends. Local media excluded. The dailies will call localized funding pork. They'll call all these nasty words because so many, although albeit few than the many, but there are certain elected officials that you'll see in the paper in handcuffs and in shackles, because they misappropriated what was discretionary funds. And because of that, we lost it on the state level. In 2009, we gave it up because we had a budget crisis. But the years after, the subsequent years, we lost it because our governor wants to clean up Albany, and I'm all for that. But in my private discussions with Governor Cuomo, and I agreed with him as far as cleaning up Albany and taking away discretionary money from the elected officials, because a few did run it for the many, he didn't replace it with something. He didn't replace it with another structure. So while localized money sits there in the budget, our senior centers, our veterans posts, our after-school programs, and all valid nonprofits lose out. And we've seen senior centers close, we have veterans posts that are closing, and we have a lack of after-school programs. And I'm sure we can think of many other nonprofits. So my little mission during this budget process is set up a structure where localized groups, nonprofit groups, can make applications directly to the budget. No elected official involved. If he wants to clean up Albany that way, I'll agree with it, providing that we get localized money back to the community where it belongs. It goes along with the theory that he has of giving money back to the people. Well, here's another way. Put the money back into our nonprofits that provide such a critical service, social programs, senior programs, youth programs, veterans programs. Put the money back there, and I don't expect the governor up in the governor's mansion, almost 200 miles away, to see what we need here in the area. And if he's not going to listen to the elected official about it, then let the groups apply. Let them make the application directly to the state budget for $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, capital dollars if they need. Let them be vetted by the administration, checked out to make sure they're credible. And a lot of these groups received money in the past, so that's kind of easy. But let them get the money that they deserve, that they need, because in turn, it benefits our people. So that's my little mission from now until April. I hope the governor can be acceptance of it. In my conversations with him toward the tail of last year, he said he'd consider it. I do have a piece of legislation out there that does set up this structure, but we don't need legislation. We don't need to go through the whole red tape of legislation. We just need the governor to set up the administrative structure. So that's one of the issues that we're going to be working on. In the budget too, we started to bring down local money, and then we would get money for security cameras. And again, I got to thank the efforts of our assembly member, Mike Miller. The bottom line is safety in our area is very important. And when we can grab some dollars to do cameras in Forest Park or speed cameras, wherever it is, that's where the money is best spent in the budget. Our local money, education, libraries. That's where we can point to it and say there's a benefit. So that's what we're going to try and do over the course from now until April 1st with our budget. I do have 2 events coming up that I want just the general public to understand and know that they are coming up. And if you have any questions, please let me know. The first event that we have coming up is Thursday, January 30th. And it's free mammography exams, breast exams for our women. Now, I made a statement. It was down in Rockaway, part of my district, and I said I'll be having free breast exams. I don't give the exam. It came out. It came out kind of odd. I will sponsor another group to give the free exam. It's all joking aside, it's a very important exam for women to take. In the 12 years I've been a public official, a woman just knocked me off my feet. She was in Middle Village, a senior center in Middle Village, and she said, I want to thank you for the mammography that we had done, I believe in Maspeth at the time. And she says, I want to thank you very much. I went, and I'm very thankful. I says, I'm glad, I hope it all worked out, I'm sure it did. And she says, no, they found something. So if it wasn't for your event, I would never have found out. So she said, you saved my life. Now, I don't think of it in those terms, but something like that makes your day. So again, it is a very important exam. That's Thursday, January 30th. It's at the intersection of 156th Avenue and Cross Bay Boulevard. Again, so if you take Woodhaven Boulevard south, you'll see the big van, 156th Avenue, Cross Bay Boulevard, from 9 a.m. to I believe 4 p.m. But please call my office because we need, if you're interested in anyone who wants to do the exam, because we need to know how many, how much supplies to bring. Again, it's Thursday, January 30th. Now, not to forget the men, because that's a very important test for women. So not to forget the men, we'll be doing a free prostate exam. Once again, I did not give the exam. I hired somebody to do the exam. The photo op on that is very interesting. Prostate exam, also all seriousness, it is a very important exam for men. Prostate exam, that'll be on March 1st. That'll be Saturday, March 1st from 12 to 2 in the office space next to my Howard Beach office. So the address there is 159-53 102 Street in Howard Beach, near a bus, near a train. 159-53 102 Street, Saturday, March 1st. Again, if you know any gentleman who's looking to do the exam, please call my office and I'll make the arrangements. But again, I want to thank, and congratulate and look forward to working with our new boy, Martin. Of course, if I can be of any help, please let me know. Here's my card with my email. There you go. It's official. We have witnesses. Any way I can help, please. My office and I are at your disposal. And I want to thank Ed. Ed is a personal friend of mine. Went to the same high school, although he won't admit it. But Ed, thank you. You stepped across the line to do what we all asked, get involved in the community, make Woodhaven a better place. You did. Thank you. Any questions? Wow. My favorite color is blue. Taurus, yes.
Okay, is there, I know it was during holiday breaks, so maybe no one's going to mention about the MTA funds, and that Governor Cuomo decided not to give it to the MTA, he's putting it back in the budget. Is anyone going to talk about that?
Of course. Here's why. You can't give the MTA a blank check. You cannot give the MTA money without asking for accountability. Over the years, we found out the MTA is very poor at math. They don't do math very well, you know. And so,
Bridges very well either.
what was that?
They don't do bridges very well.
No, I know. They eventually get around to painting Jamaica Avenue, but, but you know, and I agree with the governor, you just can't give them money without asking for accountability. Whenever a city or state is in tough financial times, they don't automatically raise taxes. That's the last resort. What you do is you look in the mirror and you start to make administrative cuts. And we're not convinced that the MTA had made the appropriate administrative cuts. So I agree, let's not give them a lot of money at this point, and there'll be money in the budget for that. Of course there will be. But let's hold off and see their plan. We want to keep service up and fares down. And that's a hard thing to do. I'm not saying it's easy. With a little work and a little team effort, we could do that. So I agree with the governor at this point, and that's going to be part of the budget negotiation. Any other questions? Yes.
I don't understand the rationale of the governor. He's taking depressed areas upstate, and he's putting casinos. These people don't even have bread to eat, and he is putting casinos in the meantime. That's putting a smack in the face to us because we have resorts, and we have things too. So to me, it feels like we're in competition with upstate.
Well, he made sure there was no competition by putting a 7-year gap between the new casinos and even the possibility of Resorts World becoming a full-fledged casino. Here's another area where I'll mildly disagree with the governor because I don't think he's paying attention enough to Resorts World and maximizing the potential there. If Resorts World were to become a full gaming site, we would have realized an additional 1,000 jobs. So we are scratching the surface with the potential at Resorts World, given also their empty acreage of land. So I do say, and again, this conversation with the governor, that I wish he paid more or closer attention to Resorts World. This is his plan. Whether you agree or not, he sees a depressed area like, upstate New York, and he says casinos are going to be part of the answer. Other parts are obviously incentives for businesses to go and lay claim to upstate areas and provide manufacturing jobs there, and I like that road. I do. I do like that road. The governor's plan to separate the state into different regions and take advantage of these regions, whether it be for us, technology, and maybe upstate the wineries and the manufacturing, to understand that this state has different places, and these different places offer different amenities as far as resources. That's a good plan. So we may differ on the casinos in upstate New York, but he is concentrating on trying to revitalize the upstate area. Where?
Yes, it was very sad because we had to close the senior citizen center here in Woodhaven because of lack of funding. And they all depended on state funding, as we do as well, Greater Woodhaven Development Corporation. Do you think that he is going to listen to you finally about the credible, clean groups that we have in this area that are not the corrupt groups that he's stigmatizing us with?
I don't believe, the governor listens to one elected official. I am hoping as I go through the Senate and maybe my good friend over there, Mike Miller, to go through the Assembly, because we all have, you can talk to any elected official, Assembly member, Senator, we all want funding for our local groups. So I think the more elected officials that talk to the governor about this common issue, maybe the better off we would listen and implement something. So it's not just about me. It's going to take team effort to get something done. And hopefully the governor acknowledges that. So we try. We try. Yes, Maria?
Joe, in regards to with the casinos, like Genting funding, the money was promised to come, whatever profits, some profits were gonna go to the schools. I'm told that it's being held up in Albany. Like the schools around here, wasn't that one of the things that Genting wanted to give back? Yeah.
Their agreement was 1% of their profit back to the community, and we always try to have them define what is community. We've seen over the past 2 years, in their definition, community means the area in and around the casino and the wider part of Queens County, under the theory that the Resorts World Casino affects everybody in Queens. So over the past 2 years, they have given out to groups, in and out, I should say, within the Queens County. Last year, they gave out more than the previous year because they gave out a lot during Hurricane Sandy. we always advocate that this is their money. So no elected official can dictate where that money goes. But we always encourage them as well and entice them or, talk to them about giving the money locally, spreading it around. I don't know if they can give directly to a school, but they can give to a nonprofit that has a program membership, And again, for years, the common question was, doesn't lottery money go into education?
Yeah.
The answer is yes, it does. Lottery money, including the scratch-offs and the casinos, that money does, a portion of which does go into our education portion of our state budget. Traditionally, in the past, what had happened was education money gets funded by lottery, but then the education budget was cut. So it was like a wash. In the past, I would say 3 years, that has been a trend that has changed. It has been lottery money in and an increased amount of funding, because we're fiscally able to do so. The lottery money and education money increase. So who benefits by that? Our children. But the problem is, to an extent a problem, the money gets allocated from the state down to our city, into its coffers, and the mayor decides where the money is allocated. So what we're looking for when I talk about localized funding is that we can point to smart boards into our classroom saying this came from the state budget, or something along those lines. Any other questions?
Can we say, if you have any other questions, we kind of want to move on?
Sure, sure.
Sorry, maybe you can ask
No,
Joe.
I'm not going anywhere. I'll be in the back.
I just wanted to know if you know anything more about the building on 78th Street. I don't think a lot of people come down that way, but I live there and I pass there 3-4 times a day.
It is one of the most frustrating issues for me in my district. It is absolutely unacceptable that I don't want to let that building get to that point and will not do anything to fix it. I am hoping that with the efforts of all our elected officials, we can convince the city Department of Buildings to really step in and either take that building over, fix it up, put a lien on. Liens mean nothing to this gentleman, but something else. I am really hoping that we can do something.
Where they moved the senior center is not very nice. They closed that for some reason, I don't know what. Now, I'm in there the other day and they tell me the janitor is smoking downstairs. We're upstairs doing yoga, telling to take deep breaths, and that's what they're breathing, and they tell me they can't do anything about him.
Our end goal is to get the
And
seniors.
there's the building sits.
Yeah, our end goal is to get the seniors back home to where they belong, at the Volunteer Ambulance Corps, as soon as possible. That is our end goal.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.